What's up guys, Alton here. Today I'm going to be doing a video, and just like I said in one of my other videos, I will be sharing my testimony of how I came to Christ. And I just want to go ahead and put it out there for you guys. And just like I said before, if you guys have a story of your own, yeah, you guys just go ahead and drop me a video. Just a video of how you came to faith in Christ, so I can upload it to my channel right here. And I'll go ahead and I'll leave my email in the description below. You guys can email it over to me, and I think you could probably send it over via Dropbox. I know that I said Google Drive earlier, but I think Dropbox is what I meant. And I think that's where you can send large files and stuff like that. Because I think if you try to send a regular email, it won't go through if the file is too big. So you can send it to me via Dropbox. But anyway, like I said, man, I want to go ahead. We're going to get into this video. Oh man, it's going to be kind of embarrassing. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you guys my story. And some of you may have already heard it in my video labeled Addressing the Foolishness in the Black Church. I kind of went through some of the details of when I was kind of coming to faith. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an in-depth detail of how I actually came to faith. Alright, for all of those who actually seen my video, Addressing the Foolishness in the Black Church, I'll go ahead and I'll leave another link in the description to that video. As you guys know, my story when I was a kid, my early childhood, I talked about my parents divorcing and me going to live with my great-grandmother for a while, and she was always into the church, things like that. So I always had some type of foundation, some type of root in the Word of God, although I didn't really understand what I was hearing at the time. But I had some type of root into the faith, and I somewhat believed, but I couldn't have called myself a Christian back then because I was just, I just didn't really study. I didn't really know a lot of things that I know now about the faith. So when things really started to take a turn for me, and like I said in the last video, I had went through the whole Black conscience movement. I was kind of into that for a little while. But what kind of started, when I started to see the Lord working in my life, and I think that this was that defining moment. I remember I used to work at this lube center. And it was like a lube center and car wash. So I think I was 18. I had just turned 19. And I was working at this lube center, and I was working around a group of guys. And these group of guys had, they talked me into doing some illegal stuff. And that illegal thing was what we would do was that people who came in to get their oil changed, one guy would open up the hood, kind of cause a distraction, or he'll go and he'll talk to one of the people, well, the person who owned the car, and the other guy will go into the car and they would, search inside of people's, inside of their glove compartments and stuff like that, and take checks out of their checkbook. Once we got enough checks or whatever, we would just go ahead and basically forge our names on them, sign them, and go to the bank and cash the checks. Now it wouldn't be anything like thousands of dollars, but it'll just be stuff like little $50 transactions here and there. And if you get enough of these checks, you can walk away with quite a few. You can walk away with some money, a lot of money. So we were doing that, and me being a young guy, just trying to fit in. and more importantly, just wanting money. You know, I had a job, wasn't really paying that much, but this was almost like one of those things that I consider like a little hustle of mine, even though it was illegal. You know, just taking money from innocent people. So we probably did this for probably about a few months. This had going on. So one day I got ready to go into a bank, and what I did was that it wasn't a bank that I had. It wasn't like I was going to do a transaction with someone else's check. I was actually going in there for legitimate reasons. It was because I had to, cash a check of my own. So I went into this bank, and I walk up to the counter, give the lady all my information, my forms of ID, went through the whole thing, thumbprint on the check, all of that stuff. So she took my check, she went to the back. Next thing I know, she said, well, hey, just sit tight for a minute. We got some things, we got to try to straighten out back here, So I was like, okay, no problem. So I'm thinking that there was a problem with the money from the place that I worked. I thought that they had a problem, getting the money from these guys, because it had happened before. So I really thought nothing of it. So sitting there in the lobby, about 5 minutes or so. Next thing I know, that these two cops, they come walking in. And these two police officers, they come in, and the lady comes from behind the counter, and she kind of points me out. Cops look at me, and I'm like, oh man, like what's going on here? And then I started thinking about, maybe it's because of the dirt that I've done, with the checks. And I immediately went to that, and I said, I bet that's what it is. And by the time it dawned on me that I had been red flagged in the system, so cops stand me up, throw the cuffs on me. I got people looking at me. I'm like, oh man, here we go. I'm getting ready to be arrested. So they picked me up. They didn't take me out to the car. They took me into one of the offices. It was like these glass offices right there, and it's one of those offices to where, let's say if you're trying to open an account or something like that, or if you have a problem, they kind of put you in that little glass office where the desk is. So I'm sitting there, hands behind my back. So they didn't really say much to me. They just sat me down and they left. They left me inside of the room to go talk to the bank manager. So I'm sitting there, right? And I'm like, man, I've never been to jail, never been in trouble with the law, just a 19-year-old young man. And I'm just thinking, and this was before I actually started going to trade school. I was kind of fresh out of high school at the time. And next thing I know, I'm just sitting there, and I can't hear anything that's going on outside because, it's just me in this quiet room, and it was kind of well insulated. Couldn't hear anything. So anyway, so what I did was the only thing that could come to my mind at the time, and I actually reached out to God, and I prayed a prayer of desperation. And I was like, Lord, if you can just get me out of this, I swear I won't steal anything else. I'll never put myself in this predicament again. Lord, I mean well, I got a good heart, just all of this stuff. And I really prayed. I prayed so hard. And I honestly felt like I was praying to someone. And so, but at the end of my prayer, I said, you know what, Lord, I take full responsibility for what I've done. If this is the path that I have to go down in order for me to learn a lesson, then this is where I'll be. If I have to go to jail, then Lord, so be it. But Lord, I just want to apologize, for sinning against you. So as soon as I finished the prayer, 2 cops come walking back in to where I was sitting. And these guys, they were probably a little bit older than me. I was like 19 at the time, and these guys couldn't have been no more than maybe 24, 25. These are some pretty young cops. And they're talking to me, and one of the guys, he's just like, and he just laying it out there. He was like, what you did, was wrong. You're out here, you're taking money from innocent people. You don't know where that money was going towards. These people could have had children. These people could have been sick. They probably could have needed their money. And you're out here writing checks. In your name, cashing money, taking money out of these people's accounts. And at that time, man, I felt so convicted. I was so convicted. And I felt so bad, man. And just coming to the realization of what I've done. Now, first of all, these cops, they didn't have to talk to me. They could have just said, whatever. It was just some guy out here, committing crimes. Let's just take him straight to jail. Let's not talk to him at all. Let's just go ahead and haul him down to jail and just let the system deal with him. So these 2 cops are talking to me, asking me questions, like, how old am I? Where did I go to school? Do I plan on getting, any more education or furthering my education, stuff like that. So they probably talked to me for maybe about a couple of minutes or so, maybe about 2 minutes. So after they talked to me, they said, all right, stand up. So I stood up, they grabbed me by the cuffs, and they led me outside of the bank. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Lead me outside of the bank, the cop cars parked right there in front. I'm like, okay, well, here we go. Never been in the back of a police car, so here we go. I'm gonna be hauled off to jail. I'm already thinking about what I'm gonna tell my parents. I'm already thinking about who I'm gonna call. And my parents had already said, listen, if you go to jail, we're not getting you out of jail. So don't even think about calling us. But I was just gonna call them just to let them know where I was. So I get led to the back of the police car. And the officer opens the driver's side door. He reaches in and he pulls out this paper. And he said, well, listen, this paper, this is a no trespassing document. Okay, so you have to promise to not come back to this facility anymore. Because if you do, then, you're going to be arrested. It's like, all right. Okay, so they take the cuffs off. And they have me sign this paper. So one of the cops look at me and he hands me my check that I was supposed to be cashing at the bank. He says, listen, we actually can't arrest you. So I'm like, hold on. You're telling me that you let me go? Because I've known people who had actually committed the same crime that I committed. And there was no question. They went to jail and they got 2 years right off the bat. There was no question. So the guy said, yeah, we have to let you go. And he said, because no one filed a police report, which I didn't know. And he said, since they didn't file a police report, then legally we cannot arrest you. And I just felt like that 20-ton building was just lifted off my shoulders. And both police officers, they talked to me again. They didn't have to do it, but they did it. And they said, hey, listen, man, stay out of trouble. I hope it's the last time I see you, doing anything like this. They were just like, listen, you go, you get yourself a trade, go back to school, get an education, make some good money, and hopefully this will change your life. And hopefully you can go out and change someone else's life. And those words stuck with me. So I just never forget. I was just headed home and I just couldn't believe it. I just really couldn't believe it that I was actually let go. And I didn't think at the time, like, oh man, whoa, you know, I dodged a bullet. But I really felt that it was God. And I knew it was God. Not only did I know it was God, but I knew that God had saved me from that situation for a particular reason. And from that time on, I didn't steal anything. I mean, I remember, I'll never forget, I was going shopping and I had a pack of water. I think it was a pack of water or a pack of paper towels or something, you know, under my cart. And you know, I had scanned everything. I forgot that the paper towels were up under my cart, and I walked outside and I noticed that it was there. So I immediately came back in, you know, with all of my groceries, and I said, hey, listen, I forgot to pay for this. And the lady was standing behind me. She was just like, well, that is so noble of you. And I went ahead and I paid for it, and then, you know, and I left, you know, in that particular instance. So by the time I got, you know, probably in my mid-20s or whatever, you know, from the time I was like 19 to the time I was like 23, 24, I started to backslide. You know, I started falling back into the conscious movement, started just doing whatever I wanted. Drink, smoke. I didn't smoke much. I really wasn't much of a smoker, but I did it. You know, fornicated. I didn't steal anything. You know, I kept my word on that. I wasn't stealing anything, but I was just living a very secular lifestyle. I came to Atlanta around 2006, I'm sorry, and just wanted to move from South Florida, wanted a fresh new start, came up here, had a son from a previous relationship, and I ended up meeting my wife. Now, before I met my wife, I was in a pretty bad relationship. Had a son on the way. Found out that I had a son on the way after I ended a relationship. Tried to make the relationship work. Didn't work. But I said, you know, it is what it is. So, end up getting out of that relationship. And at the same time, the economy was bad. This is around 2008. So the economy started, it was just bad. Jobs were scarce. My money wasn't coming in. My car was about to get repoed. I had to go live back with my father. And like I said before, I had this child on the way. And at the time, I'm like 24, you know, going on, no, I was 25. I was actually going on 26. And my life was just spiraling out of control. And I just said, you know what, you know, I fell into a real deep depression. So my father helped me keep my car. I only had one payment left on it, and they were coming to get it. So my father helped me out with that. You know, he talked me into staying in Georgia, because I was ready to move back to South Florida. I said, you know, if I can't make it here, you know, I know I can go back to South Florida. I know I can get a job easy. I know too many people. So my dad talked me into staying here in Atlanta. So I stayed in Atlanta, and he said, you know, you can stay here as long as you want to get yourself together. So I said, okay, fine. But I still needed a job. I was searching, looking for jobs. And a guy across the street, he told me about a position that was opening at a barber shop, because he knew I cut hair. And, you know, I used to cut my dad's hair. I used to cut my brother's hair. I used to cut their friends' hair. I used to do all of that. So, you know, I can cut hair. So I ended up working at a barber shop, and he got me a job there. I was making, you know, making some decent money. And one day I just noticed that things were just, it was starting to look up. And I knew that it was because of God. So after I got, one night I just came home and I prayed. And this was probably the second time that I prayed the hardest that I had prayed the first time. And I said, God, I don't know who you are. where you are, but I just want to be with you. I don't care if it's Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever. I know you exist, and I just want to be where you are. And if you guys watch my video, Dressing the Foolishness in the Black Church, you know, you guys kind of know the rest of the story. You know, the Lord basically, it's like he spoke to me. It wasn't like a physical speaking as an Alton. You know, it wasn't anything like that, but it was like this idea, I would say, popped in my head that wouldn't have come across my head. You know, I wouldn't have thought of this at all. But it was to take the Bible that had been given to me when I was 7 years old and start reading it. So I started doing that, and I actually prayed for a long time. I prayed for maybe about 20 minutes, probably about as long as this video. And I also asked the Lord to lead me in the right direction, you know, to lead me, to help me find a great woman, a woman who would help me become, who would be close to him, a woman who would help me strengthen my faith in him. You know, I wanted a woman who was grounded in the Word, or a woman who was willing to ground herself in the Word. And then a couple months later, I met my wife, and we've been together ever since. And I mean, things have just been so great between us. And I'm not gonna lie, things were hard at times. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I still had money issues. There was, you know, I had to learn how to balance and manage my money a lot better. Stop buying a bunch of junk. I had to learn how to treat my wife and respect her. I had to learn how to get rid of a lot of you know, female friends, and just stop hanging out with certain people. And once I started learning how to do that, and I started learning how to really read the scriptures, my life has been, I mean, I have this joy. I just have this great joy right now. And it's like, I don't even have, you know, millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. It's not like I have that, or just a bunch of arbitrary materialistic stuff. And I just have this great joy. And I think I'm gonna make a video, or kind of a part 2 to that, but I wouldn't say a part 2. But just I just want to kind of, you know, touch on the joy. And because I know this video is almost 25 minutes long, so I kind of don't want to keep beating a dead horse. So, but basically, man, that was just basically my story. It's basically my story. I know that you know, I asked you guys before to send me a 5-minute video, and a guy actually he sent me a message, and he said, well, hey, listen, you know, some people's testimonies are, you know, kind of long, and, you know, you may want to, you know, just really not put a time limit on it. So, you know, shout out to that guy. I can't look up his name right now, but, you know, if you're watching this video, man, thanks to you. So like I said, you guys send me a video, and also I've already had a couple of people send me emails, you know, like really long emails, you know, explaining their story, and I've been reading them. But I would just ask that, you know, if you guys want your testimony to be shared to the world, and you need a platform to do it on, just send it to me. You know, you send me that video, I promise I will upload it to this channel. And I just want to hear similar stories. You know, not only do I want to hear similar stories, but I think that we all just need to continue to just share our own stories, our own testimonies about the same God who has saved all of us. So, you know, with that being said, guys, I know this video is pretty long. Thank you guys who watched it to the end. You know, like, rate, share, comment, subscribe, as always. You guys have a blessed day.